Hello and welcome to Nightline. I'm Nakia Basharuddin. The headlines. International cooperation vital in fight against corruption, says Prime Minister. Construction worker falls to his death after scaffolding collapses. And after 3 days, wreckage of SUV that plunged into the sea finally recovered. Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said international cooperation is vital in combating corruption and crimes due to porous borders where money can be easily moved from one country to another. The Prime Minister said Malaysia experienced this when funds were transferred from one Malaysia Development Fund and laundered in the United States.
Crimes do not just confine themselves to one country. Crimes can spread to other countries, as in the case of money laundering. Malaysian money was found to be laundered in America, and it is the Americans who took action against money laundering there, and it is discovered that the money is from Malaysia, from one MDB, for example. So international cooperation would also help in reducing incidents of corruption.
Tun Dr. Mahathir said this in his keynote address at the 10th Annual General Assembly of the International Association of Anti-Corruption Authorities, IAACA, in Vienna, Austria on Tuesday. In his 40-minute speech, the Prime Minister said the fight against corruption is an endless endeavour, and there were poor countries that could not become rich and develop accordingly because of corruption. He said it was necessary that countries fight graft and make sure that their leaders were not corrupt.
For bringing both these events.
In the meantime, the IAACA on Tuesday launched the Dr. Mahathir Mohamad Fund to help anti-graft officers who face risks in the line of duty. The announcement was made by IAACA President Dr. Ali Fatayas Al-Mari during his opening address at the 10th IAACA Annual Conference. Dr. Fatayas Al-Mari, who is also Qatar Attorney General, said the fund carried the name of the Malaysian Prime Minister in recognition of Tun Dr. Mahathir's efforts in fighting graft. Malaysia has donated 500,000 ringgit to the fund, and Dr. Fatayas Al-Mari announced that Qatar, where IAACA is based, will double the contribution. The IAACA was formed in 2006 to promote the effective implementation of the UN Convention Against Corruption, of which Malaysia is a signatory. Malaysia was among the earliest to join IAACA, which now has 140 member countries. Speaking at a media conference after the keynote address, Tun Dr. Mahathir reiterated that Malaysia cannot accept Israeli athletes as they come from a criminal country. The Prime Minister said people who are undesirable to the country must be kept out, and this included people suspected of being terrorists and the like.
Yes, he comes from a country which does not obey international laws. You find that this country just does what it likes, including building settlements in other people's country and excluding the people of that country from entering their settlement. They have raided our ships carrying relief material for the Gaza people. They have raided this in international waters, and the ships were arrested and taken to Israeli ports. There are many other things that is done by Israel that is against international law and against morality and human rights. We cannot do anything to Israel, but we don't want to have anything to do with them.
Israel had objected to Malaysia banning its swimmers from competing in the 2019 World Para-Swimming Championships scheduled to be held in Kuching in July. Malaysia has been an outspoken critic of Israel over its atrocities against the Palestinian people. A Bangladeshi worker was killed after the medal staging holding the door holding the floor of an under-construction building collapsed on Tuesday. The incident occurred at the Subang High-Tech Park in Subang Jaya, Selangor. According to authorities, the victim was walking on the first floor during the incident before the rubble collapsed and fell about 4 meters. A team from the Subang Fire and Rescue Department was dispatched after a distress call was received at 4:49 p.m. Work to remove the rubble started immediately, and the victim was found at 5:42 p.m. unresponsive. The victim, known only as Kasim, was crushed by the metal and the cement floor. The vehicle that fell off the Pulau Pinang Bridge on Sunday has finally been retrieved, with the driver still inside. The body of the victim, trapped in the SUV, identified as 20-year-old college student Moe Yun Peng, was still intact, though the vehicle was retrieved 3 days later. Rescue personnel started the actual operation to hoist the 1.5-ton car out of the water at about 5:45 p.m. on Tuesday. They took about 20 minutes to bring it up onto the bridge itself. The wreckage was submerged at a depth of 15 meters, about 15 meters away from where it went over the barrier. It was found at 4 p.m. on Monday, but efforts to bring up the car failed due to strong currents and low visibility. The body was sent to the Subang Jaya Hospital for post-mortem. Meanwhile, police have recorded statements from 8 individuals on the accident. Seberang Perai Tengah District Police Chief ACP Nick Ros Azhan Nick Abdul Hamid, however, said they have not done so with the Toyota Vios driver, as he is still receiving treatment at the hospital. He added the investigation team would also be taking down the statement of another witness who recorded the crash on Sunday. Based on the police probe, friends of the SUV victim testified that he was alone in the vehicle, while the Toyota Vios driver, who is receiving treatment at a private hospital, is reported to be stable. The 21-year-old man, who is a hairstylist, had tested positive for cannabis in an earlier drug screening test. In another development, Plus Malaysia Berhad Plus will propose that the government install speed cameras on the Pulau Pinang Bridge to ensure motorists abide by the set speed limit. Its managing director, Dato Azman Ismail, said at the moment the bridge is only installed with closed-circuit television (CCTV) to monitor traffic flow.
We're going to put in the proposal. Macam saya katakan, proposal yang kami ada adalah untuk lokasi yang lain selain daripada Jabatan Pulau Pinang. Kami telah buat proposal kepada pihak enforcement agencies for installation of additional cameras. So now we're going to add on additional cameras in our proposal for Jabatan Pulau Pinang.
Speaking at a media conference after the launch of Op Selamat 14 at the Seremban R&R earlier on Tuesday, he added that Plus will also look into the 80 km/h speed limit currently set on the Pulau Pinang Bridge. When asked about the need to upgrade the bridge guardrails to avoid vehicles from falling over into the sea, he said the guardrails in place are already according to international specifications. However, Plus will study the need to upgrade the guardrails based on accident reports issued by the authorities. Footage of a man leaping off the Sultan Abdul Halim Muazzam Shah Bridge in Pulau Pinang on Tuesday morning has gone viral. This is the second drama to occur on the bridge in just 3 days. The man was seen standing on the ledge of the guardrail before waving and jumping backwards. Southwest District Police Chief Superintendent A.A. Anbalagan said the 33-year-old man was believed to have driven to the bridge parked by the side of the road before leaping off. Luckily, he was rescued by a fisherman and was handed over to the Marine Police before being sent to the Penang Hospital for further treatment. His condition is reported to be stable. Police investigation found that the man had had an argument with his wife, who had asked for a divorce. Motorists found to have committed 6 major offences during the Op Selamat 14 in conjunction with the Chinese New Year will be slapped with a 300 ringgit summons immediately. According to Deputy Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Nur Rashid Ibrahim, the stern action is to educate and ensure the safety of road users.
Kita nak mendidik ni, ada yang kita mendidik secara nasihat, kita nasihat pada kempen dan sebagainya. Tapi ada yang nak panggil apa ni, yang tak makan nasihat ini, So pilihan yang ada pada kita adalah untuk mengambil tindakan undang-undang.
He said this after launching the Op Slamat 14 at the Seremban R&R on Tuesday. The offences include driving on the emergency lane, speeding and jumping queue. Also, overtaking on the double line, beating the traffic lights and using communication devices while driving. The operation, in conjunction with the Chinese New Year celebration, will kick off on January 29th and end on February 12th. Meanwhile, Tan Sri Noor Rashid said the emergency lane at 2 critical locations may be opened to motorists of the North-South Expressway to reduce traffic congestion during this Chinese New Year. The locations are the southbound route between Simpang Pulai to Gopeng and northbound route between Slim River and Sungkai. Tan Sri Noor Rashid said the move to open the emergency lane was made following a request by the expressway operator Plus.
Ya, kita akan tempat anggota kita. Sebab saya rasa tempat yang dibuka di emergency lane ini adalah kawasan yang telah dikaji kesesakan yang teruk berlaku. Maka kalau dengan membukanya laluan kecemasan itu dapat melancarkan aliran trafik, itu tak ada masalah. Kita buka dan kita kawal.
Tan Sri Noor Rashid said the emergency lane will be opened according to the needs of the traffic flow controlled by police. Plus expects the traffic volume to increase to 1.9 million users during peak times between January 31st and February 10th. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng has rebutted claims that the record 137 billion ringgit in tax collected by the government last year was solely due to the increase in oil prices, saying a significant chunk was contributed by other sources. At a media conference on Tuesday, the Finance Minister pointed out that while the increase in oil prices accounted for about 60% of the rise on tax collection, the balance 40% is contributed by other factors.
Kenaikan adalah daripada 123.3 bilion kepada 137 bilion. Kenaikan 13.7 bilion berbanding dengan tahun 2017. Daripada jumlah ini 8.3 bilion adalah datang daripada kenaikan hasil petroleum. Sedangkan 5.4 bilion adalah daripada sumber lain.
He was commenting on claims that the tax collection was propped up by the rise in oil prices last year and that the higher collection was based on taxes paid in 2017, reflecting the efforts of the previous regime. Meanwhile, Lim also noted that a tax system was changed about 2 decades ago and that tax payments in Malaysia are no longer based on the previous year's assessment.
When you pay taxes, you pay on the current year. You don't pay on the previous year's assessment. That was 20 years ago. Now you pay on the current year's assessment, correct or not? Now these facts are correct, I pay on the current year's assessment. So it's not only for the salary workers, you pay as you earn, PAYE. Here, you all pay income tax. You all pay on the same month. Betul?
He was speaking at a media conference held to announce a Chinese New Year Open House 2019 event, which will be jointly hosted by himself and the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Malaysia. The event will be held on February 6 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Wisma Chinese Chamber, with Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad as a guest of honor. After the breather, 3 remanded over Batu Cave's firecracker incident. Welcome back. On to the Cameron Highlands by-election. 87% or 216 out of 247 early voters, mostly policemen, cast their votes at 2 polling centres on Tuesday. Election Commission Chairman Azhar Azizan Harun said out of the total eligible early voters, 203 voted at the Brinchang Police Station before polling closed at 5 p.m, while 13 out of 15 registered voters cast their ballots at the Sungai Koyan Police Station before polling closed at 2 p.m.
Dia akan dikira pada polling day. Ya, selepas proses pengundian hari ini, peti undi akan di-seal dan disimpan di dalam lockup sehingga polling day lah, sehingga tamatnya proses pengundian pada polling di 26 hari bulan.
Meanwhile, Azhar said the EC will not extend the polling hours in certain district voting centres, especially in the Orang Asli settlements, due to security factors and logistic challenges. He said the security factor was important because the Commission has to use a helicopter to transport the ballot papers to and from some areas which are difficult to access. A total of 32,009 persons are eligible to vote in the Cameron Highlands by-election. The Cameron Highlands parliamentary by-election on January 26 will see a four-cornered fight between Pakatan Harapan, PH's candidate, M. Manogaran, Ramli Muhammad Noor from Barisan Nasional, and two independents, namely former lecturer at the Aminuddin Baki Institute, Salahuddin Abdul Talib, and farmer Wong Seng Yi. The police have received 21 reports on various offences since nomination day for the Cameron Highlands parliamentary by-election. State Deputy Police Chief DCP Datuk Muhammad Yusri Hassan Basri said the reports include a scuffle involving a deputy minister which broke out in Pos Lenjang in Kuala Lipis, Pahang.
21 report polis dan kita sedang menjalankan siasatan dan kita refer kepada SPR dan juga kepada pihak SPN. So kita masih lagi menjalankan siasatan dan kita tunggu apa juga laporan-laporan daripada pihak-pihak yang terbabit.
The Deputy Minister had allegedly used a Pahang government vehicle to campaign in the Cameron Highlands by-election. The incident was captured in a video which then went viral on social media recently. Pahang State Secretary Datuk Sri Dr. Salahuddin Ishaq said the vehicle was loaned by the State Forestry Department to a Deputy Minister for official use and had instructed for its return. Police have received more requests from Malaysians stranded in Syria in connection with the Daesh movement to help them to return to Malaysia. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Muhammad Fuzi Harun said the request came after police rescued 3 family members of the terrorist group and brought them back safely to Malaysia on October 6 last year. Tan Sri Muhammad Fuzi was asked to comment on reports of 3 more Daesh-linked Malaysian families who had sought police's assistance in the matter. It was reported that the process of bringing the mother, known only as Aisha, and her 2 children, aged 2 and 5, back to Malaysia took nearly a month.
Takat ni kita pun ada menerima permohonan daripada keluarga yang terlibat. Tetapi respon daripada mereka yang berada di Syria tu tidak begitu jelas lagi. Jadi proses untuk kita membantu ni adalah proses yang berterusan. Bukan Aisyah yang dengan anak dia 2 orang tu aja. Tapi yang lain-lain pun kalau mereka meminta bantuan, kita akan cuba bawa mereka pulang. Tapi untuk membawa mereka pulang ni kita perlukan kerjasama daripada pasukan sahabat, khususnya pihak berkuasa Turki, yang mana laluan keluar masuk mereka ini adalah melalui Turki.
The IGP, however, said police would first need to establish the locations of the Malaysians stranded in Syria before a mission to bring them home can be carried out. He said these family members are not directly involved with the terrorist group's movements and were merely following their husbands or fathers. In Selangor, 3 men have been remanded for 4 days to assist in investigations into an incident in which a few individuals let off firecrackers near the Sri Subramanian temple in Batu Caves. In the 8:20 p.m. incident, 34 people were injured when the firecrackers were let off on the Middle Ring Road MRR2 near the temple. Gombak District Police Chief ACP Samsur Ma'ruf said a 23-year-old suspect was apprehended immediately after the incident. Another individual, aged 28, was arrested sometime later, while the 3rd suspect was picked up by police early on Tuesday. The suspects had allegedly let off the firecrackers to celebrate Thaipusam without permission and a police permit. 6 of the injured were sent to the Selayang Hospital, the Kuala Lumpur Hospital and the Sungai Buloh Hospital. 28 others received treatment at a clinic in Batu Caves. In the incident, 3 vehicles which were parked nearby were also damaged. The case is being probed under the Penal Code for negligent conduct with respect to any explosive conduct. In Terengganu, a final-year architecture student at a university escaped the gallows over a drug charge. The Kuala Terengganu High Court sentenced 24-year-old Muhammad Izzat Sharifuddin to 10 years imprisonment and to be given 20 strokes of the rotan after he pleaded guilty to distributing 527 grams of ganja 2 years ago. The sentence runs from the date of his arrest. Selangor police have crippled a burglary gang which has been active around Sungai Buloh with the arrest of 5 of its members in a raid last January 14th. The gang is believed to have been involved in at least 11 burglary cases in Saujana Utama and 1 in Kuang. Police also recovered some stolen items from the raid. A rented car believed to have been used for their activities was also confiscated. A scrap metal trader was charged at the Taiping Magistrates Court with distributing 569.5 kilograms of shabu on January 12th. However, no plea was recorded from 38-year-old K. Tinagaran. He is punishable under the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, which carries the mandatory death penalty. Magistrate Muhammad Hairul Jamain did not allow bail and fixed April 1st for remention. A mobile phone shop attendant was sentenced to 5 months in prison and fined 7,000 ringgit for ramming into 5 vehicles last week due to reckless driving. 29-year-old Low Kam Weng pleaded guilty when the charge was read to him at the Kuala Lumpur Magistrates Court. Magistrate M. Saravanan ordered the accused to serve another 2 months in jail if the accused fails to pay the fine. More to come on Nightline. Scores killed in bus-truck collision. Stay with us. We're back with the foreign news. A deadly Taliban attack killed scores of Afghan security forces at a military intelligence base in central Afghanistan on Monday. According to local authorities, at least 100 people have been killed, including 8 special commandos, although the number has not yet been officially confirmed. The incident, which targeted members of the National Directorate of Security, NDS, occurred after militants rammed a captured military Humvee loaded with explosives through a military checkpoint in Maidan Wardak province before detonating it. At least 2 gunmen followed up, spraying the compound with gunfire before they were shot down. The Taliban insurgents have claimed responsibility for the attack, which is among the deadliest since the fall of the group's regime in 2001. Moving on, in Pakistan, officials have raised the death toll from a collision between a bus and a truck on Monday to 27 people after 14 more victims succumbed to their wounds during treatments at hospitals. The ill-fated bus, carrying around 40 people, including the driver, was traveling from the southern city of Karachi to Balochistan when it collided with a truck. Shortly after, flames engulfed the bus, which was carrying fuel smuggled from Iran in plastic containers. Local authorities said the DNA tests will be conducted to identify bodies, as most were charred beyond recognition before they will be later handed over to relatives. Deadly traffic accidents are very common in Pakistan owing to reckless driving, bad condition of roads, and weakly enforced traffic laws.